Hey everybody, this is Brian Chase here with Kevin Nelson of Nelson Aerodynamics. He was good enough to fly down in our Eurocopter Airbus EC120 for the week. Looks like it's going to be a little bit longer than initially intended, but this helicopter is fresh out of a 12-year inspection along with a few other inspections, and so he needed to put some time on it, and figured he'd come down to Charleston so we could get photos of it, put it up for sale, and figured we'd put out the GoPro and have a little conversation here, put it out to YouTube, and let everybody hear what we're gonna do. So, Kevin, give me a little bit of background on yourself and your company and what you do.
Well, first I want to say hi to everybody out there.
Yeah, you gotta do
helicopter
that too.
land. So I live in helicopter land. Not very many people live in helicopter land, but it's what I do. It's what I specialize in. So, like you said, this aircraft is for sale. It's a owner-owned aircraft that he flies it as well. But he's moving on to some other things in life, and he's enjoyed it for several years and taught him to fly in it. So it's a great aircraft. It's very comfortable, but we just spruced up all the avionics, and it's got some really cool new stuff that people haven't seen in these aircraft before. So we really got creative, and did some fun stuff. So we'll be showing, I think some video what this thing can do, but it's pretty edgy what it can do, and it's got a great paint job on it, and it's a quiet aircraft, as you said when you came in.
Quiet. Yes.
You're like, whoa, I could carry on a conversation with somebody while Kevin's hovering the helicopter into place. So they're particularly user friendly and neighbor friendly. Right. Pretty much one of the quietest helicopters ever manufactured. It has technology with the tail rotor, which generally makes most of the noise of a helicopter. So if you don't live in helicopter land and you hear them flying over the top, those air medical helicopters, police helicopters, military helicopters, most of the sound that somebody hears is generally the tail rotor, if it's got a standard tail rotor.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know that till I met you. But
yeah. There's a lot of drag out there with those. So the main rotor blades do generate some noise, and there's a lot of design features that come into play as we've evolved. But how you fly the helicopter, you can change how your main rotor blades sound and what envelope you're flying, taking off, landing, whatever. The tail rotor, a normal helicopter, that tail rotor makes noise no matter what.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, the more power, do it. But this one has got what's called a fenestron, which French designed aircraft. Oui, oui. So they call it the fenestron. Because they are the engineers. They say this is quiet technology, and it is quiet technology, and it uses a fan in window is what it stands for in French, fan in window, and it's much safer as well. I wouldn't stick it into the weeds or into the tree branches per se, but if you did that with a regular tail rotor, you're gonna lose the control of that helicopter. It's gonna damage that tail rotor. This thing would fare a lot better. I still wouldn't do it.
You're saying because it's fully enclosed.
Yeah, it's really fully enclosed, and for somebody to really get injured by that tail rotor, they kind of stick your hand right. You got to be the
in the blender.
Yeah, but like the kid that you tell them not to touch the hot stove, and they still got to touch the hot stove for themselves. But this one is not. The fenestron is a great design and effect. It's sound, but also it's got safety features that you really have to work at hurting yourself with it. Right. But it's got great performance. Yeah, you start getting up into the 10,000 plus feet, 8,000 plus feet, and you want to go sling load seismic bags for doing oil exploration. It's not the ship to do it. Yeah. Fenestrons generally don't do that. But when you're below the 10,000 feet, 8,000 feet, you start getting into hot temperatures with a helicopter like this. The EC120 is not really designed for high mountain or high desert, hot and high, but for a private owner, for an owner flown small tour operation, terrific. And it's probably the least expensive. I could show somebody that and argue that really the least expensive per hour operating cost. And in an aircraft like this, fresh on pretty much everything, we just did a bunch of stuff on it. You're not going to have to do much for a long time. And the operation of this helicopter, buying it at what you couldn't even get a smaller piston.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's a lot of value.
Yeah, or a smaller turbine, I should say, a smaller turbine helicopter. You couldn't get it. You couldn't get that new with even close to this equipment,
right? Without
spending half again more.
Yeah.
At a minimum, in competing models.
But, so this is a 5-seat helicopter. Give me an idea for the payload. Maybe not with full fuel, but if we're going to go on a 2-hour flight, you, me, and we take 2 other people with us, 2 other adults.
Sure. Yeah. The way I do things, my clients, I have great trust relationship with, and people with generally an awful lot of money, who are generous, kind people, and they want to know the truth. Obviously, everybody does. But the way I operate is I'll tell people, that there's an Achilles heel with everything. If you buy a Porsche and it's awesome to drive down the highway and stuff like that, its Achilles heel is it's not a grocery getter, right?
Sure.
But you buy a Suburban, great for hauling the kids. It's, minivan stuff, grocery getter, but you're not going to take it on the Formula One track and really get yourself a rise, right? If you want to get a rise out of something, you're going to buy that. If you're going to have utility functions, this thing has got immense cargo space, which we'll show.
Yeah, we got to show that because that's
immense cargo space. I'm not the smallest helicopter pilot around. I am very abnormal at my size, 6'3", 250 plus, long-legged, long reach. I fit in this little helicopter.
Right.
I do not fit comfortably in any other medium, small helicopter.
Even small aircraft, you got to get into a much larger, small fixed-wing aircraft to get the amount of space that's in this. And this is one of the smallest.
But where I was going with the Achilles heel really is this thing, with center of gravity balancing, you have to be careful. But even a big guy like me, and a normal, good-sized athletic guy like yourself up front here, we can do the math, and we're still within that limit.
Right.
But we start putting a couple more Brians and Kevins back here, we're going to be able to take off, but we're going to be out of what the balance limits of the aircraft, which would make it not legal to take off.
Right.
And potentially you reach a point where you're just going to fall on your nose. We wouldn't get to that point, but I have to watch the Achilles heel with this is getting too forward of center of
Oh,
gravity.
forward CG, right.
But as we experienced here in a recent flight, we had a wife and child in the back, and
Yeah.
you know they're very comfortable back there, first of all, and almost didn't know they were back there. We start loading that up with 180, 220 pound men. We got to really start sharpening the pencil and make sure we're good.
Okay, so it's a CG issue before it's probably a weight
That's correct.
issue?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this thing, full of fuel and flying reasonably, I say flying like grandma. When I'm teaching somebody these helicopters, you know, a lot of first thing in any emergency in a helicopter, fly like grandma. Fly slow, don't yank and bang.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Ease things up. Fly like grandma.
Yeah.
So if we're flying like grandma and we're gonna lollygag down the beach at a less than fast cruise speed in this thing, but not just loitering speed, we could probably go almost 4 hours at a full tank of gas.
Okay.
And you know, at 90 or 100 knots, which is not full speed with this thing, you know, you're going almost 400 miles before you. Frankly, my bladder is going to be full by then. So
yeah. You bladder out before you fly out.
we bladder out. So if we're going to do a typical helicopter mission, might be an hour and a half mission. We're still, you know, 50% fuel. I think we're saying 3.5 hours to get to the golf course in this thing. You're going to go fly, you know, 45 minutes or half an hour, and
right.
you know, it might be something 4 towns away that you don't want to spend 4 hours driving there. You fly there in 40 minutes and you go play golf.
Right. So speed wise, what are we looking at? I mean, I would relate it fixed wing world. I'd say typical cruise speed.
This thing is very comfortable at 100, 110 knots, and I'm not really pulling a lot of power, not a extreme amount of power.
Okay.
When I want to get and go in this thing, loaded down with a bunch of baggage in the warmer temperatures, 115, 110, get the cooler temperatures, a little lighter load, a little less fuel, 50% or something. I've seen these cruising in the low 120s, 125.
Okay.
And
That's
pretty
good.
smooth, comfortable. Yeah. And that's burning about 30 gallons an hour, 30 gallons of jet fuel.
Okay.
That makes this, from a fuel burn rate compared to any of its partners or compatriots out there in the helicopter world, very competitive.
Yeah.
From a cost of operation standpoint, for a turbine helicopter, I don't think you can do better than this. Especially with a capital cost outlay to get into this, an aircraft like this that you wouldn't know, the typical person wouldn't walk up to this and not know it wasn't brand new, right?
Right.
How many people, oh my God, it's brand new.
I do this for a living, and I would walk up to this and think it was new.
Yeah.
Or a couple years old at most.
Yeah.
It's nearly flawless on the outside.
And this, an aircraft like this, about $1 million getting into it, and at right around $425 an hour, plus the cost of hangering, plus if you have a professional pilot, plus your insurance costs. But in that $425 an hour, that's the fuel burn, that's the parts replacement, the scheduled and unscheduled, that's all the calendar inspections.
Yeah. So that's fuel, airframe reserves, engine reserves,
the scheduled and unscheduled parts replacement. And when I say unscheduled, that's the stuff. Oh shoot, that thing just broke. Oh gosh. But based on the pattern history, the manufacturer helps understand when you look across the fleet of these, what are they really costing? Right. It's about $4.25, which it's amazing, really, for what you have capability performance wise.
Yeah. And again, at that capital cost.
Yeah. So I taught the owner in this helicopter, and some of the features that he likes that I like to point out. She's got like a minivan sliding door, as you can see. Really roomy seating back there with high-tech design of crash attenuation and safety, passenger safety. It can be flown from either side. A lot of helicopter guys go, what? But airplane people fly pilot and command in the left seat, right?
Right.
Strange because you use runways too.
I feel good in this because I am in the left seat.
We don't need runways, nor do we need to sit in the left seat. So this is allowed to be flown left seat pilot and command or right seat pilot and command. Most helicopter pilots are more comfortable in the right seat, but when you start getting into utility work where you're looking at swing loading something underneath you, it is more functional to be sitting in the left seat.
Okay.
But and later we're going to show, just as a teaser, we're going to do a 3-minute how to fly a helicopter, and we'll show you all these different controls.
I'm looking forward to that.
So, relatively new paint job done by one of my associates. Who's really good at painting boats as well as helicopters. So you can see a relatively new paint job. The engine and the gearbox are up there. Three rotor blades that spin this thing up into the air. I can even do it like this, kind of like the old Contact. But, very quiet helicopter. We're talking about that fenestron, the fan and window.
Yep.
That I can actually turn the blades for this too. But this thing is very quiet because of that unequal spacing of the blades. Point that thing over here. Show them how different the spacing there, but there's always a blade across from the other one. It takes away that a harmonic resonance of wings or airfoils flying in the exact same location relative to all the other ones. I used to fly Coast Guard Delphines, and they were famous for their whine.
Oh yeah.
And they had 11 blades equally spaced, and that was after. I mean, fenestron technology has been around since the late '60s. Developed, and it's all the manufacturers are trying to do something similar to this. But one of the French engineers came along and said, you know, we can reduce the noise signature of this helicopter by changing that.
That's a good accent.
So that wasn't my best, but he said, you know, like you're flying in the Grand Canyon, these can fly in their stringent noise standards,
right?
And his bigger sister in this because of that spacing. And you said the other day, boy, you could sit there and carry on a conversation while I was hovering.
It's crazy. Yeah. Do you know the decibel level that this is off the top of your head? Quick.
This helicopter for certified overflight, which is it's 150 meters, which is 492 feet at max continuous power, is I think 82 decibels, which is about equivalent to you being in your kitchen with your range, your hood fan on.
Okay.
That's 82 decibels.
Yeah, that is.
So if I flew over the top of you at roughly 500 feet at max continuous, full pitch power, trying to get there, it's going to sound like you're the same sound level as being in your kitchen.
And these, not only are they quieter, they have a much more even tone to them, so it doesn't sound like a Huey that you hear out of a Vietnam movie or whatever.
That
it's
whoop,
not that.
Whoop, 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 whoop comes from those blades that had a cord like this. This thing, blades are like this, and there's 3 of them instead of 2.
Right.
10 blades back here equally spaced. But this whole structure also performs aerodynamic aspects. A little trivia: how come we have an upside down wing on the tail of a helicopter? Come on, airplane guy.
You want to push it down, don't you?
Is that upside down?
It is upside down.
It is. It's pushing the tail down.
Yeah.
If I took that, undid the bolts, pulled those out, and went flying, I'd probably fall on our nose. We got to about 40 or 50 knots.
Okay.
We're not going to do that.
Let's not do that.
But that pushes the tail down, allows you to stay more level, allows you to accelerate with the main rotor head.
And you just call this a horizontal stabilizer, or what is it?
It's a horizontal stabilizer. Yeah. Okay. It's not movable. It's a fixed pitch position.
All right.
Now here's some fun we're gonna have. Not that we never have fun.
We always have fun.
I call this my camping bedroom. So looks kind of big, doesn't it? Now we've got a lot of garb in there. The black bag has got the logbooks from this aircraft because we've been doing this major maintenance. Boxes there actually have the equipment we took out of the helicopter, the avionics. I took some of my other gear out of there. But stay over there. Stay over there. I want to surprise you. So,
man, that's huge.
we actually can take this rear door off. Close that door. Take that panel off. Spin it around. See that panel right here? Take that off, and you could put something really long in here, up to a 14-foot kayak.
Wow.
With the kayak sticking out of the back, and people have done it. Yeah, it's legal.
And that's field removable. So you can do it, or you have to have a mechanic.
Pilot can do it.
A pilot can do it. Okay.
And it kind of looks like a dolphin birthing a dolphin, baby dolphin. But you can fly with that slider door open.
Okay.
You can open and close it in flight. Photography, things like that is great. You can remove doors.
Yeah.
Depending on what your mission is. So, yeah, I figure if I had a little lamp and a sleeping bag, I could just read to go to sleep back here for my camping trip.
Yeah.
take a look from back this way, and you can look forward.
Yeah, that is enormous. And there's more space up here too, right?
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't store stuff in the tail.
Sure. But
yeah.
Yeah. No, that is huge.
What else can I show you on this? We've talked about how quiet it is. We never want to walk underneath the tail boom like this.
What is it, like bad luck? Is it like walking underneath a ladder?
Yeah, I just hate, kind of like that. And I like to, if you're around a helicopter, stay away from that area because I can't see you. I don't have a rear view mirror.
True,
This side doesn't have a slider door in this model helicopter, the EC120, but it's got a larger door for boarding people both sides.
I spent about 15-20 seconds yesterday looking for the handle on it and thinking that it was...
They actually, I've never seen an EC120 with it. They call it a suicide door. And there's these big hunky hinges back here.
Oh, really?
And this is actually a door structure, but it's bolted in place.
Yeah, okay.
So you can have it as a suicide door.
Okay.
They're not advisable.
No.
I started mentioning...
You don't want anything associated with the word suicide and helicopter.
Yeah, that's right. Which, by the way, some of the accidents, sometimes I wonder if they're not that.
Yep.
We got some close formation butterflies.
Oh, wow. This must be that time of year.
Aren't they lovely?
Pilot ADD moment.
These seats are crash attenuating seats up to, I think it's 18 or 20 G's of force. You're looking at my seat cushions underneath there. But it's a very safe airframe if you were to get into that unfortunate situation. But these things, I can touch this thing down and you not spill a very full cup of coffee sitting in the back seat without an engine.
Without an engine?
Without an engine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bold statement.
We do it all the time.
Wow.
I teach people to do it. Obviously, if we landed over there on that uneven grass over here,
sure,
we might roll on our sides and chop the blades into the ground with a rotary tool. Yeah. But you give me something within probably 10-degree angle bank or pavement like this and stuff, sitting in the back, you can spill your coffee.
Wow. Well,
take a look at the front nose.
Yeah, let's look up here.
See how skinny this thing is, but look at the view, look at the visibility that everybody has. Even the passengers sitting in the back. You can see what the pilots up front are doing.
Yeah.
And, grandkids of the owner look over the shoulder and say, well, wow, you're really good at this. Welcome to the world of an EC120.
Thanks for watching this video. We really had a blast shooting it. So glad that Kevin could come down so that we could do this. Special thanks to him and to the owner of the helicopter for making it all happen. Also, please don't forget, like and subscribe to our channel to see more content like this. And please visit our website at chaseaviation.com to find out more about this beautiful helicopter.